I also acknowledge it's Armed Forces Day and the celebrations are going on this week, and I think we should be concerned about the welfare of both serving and former serving members of our armed forces. And I join the Prime Minister in congratulating the Lionesses for reaching the quarter-finals of the Women's World Cup and wish them well tomorrow night against Norway. Mr. Speaker, I welcome the judgment of the Court of Appeal last Thursday against UK arms sales to Saudi Arabia. The court found that the government had, and I quote, made no concluded assessments of whether the Saudi-led coalition had committed violations of international humanitarian law during the Yemen conflict and made no attempt to do so. Does the Prime Minister dispute that finding?
Here we go.
We continue to operate one of the most robust arms export control regimes in the world, and we take our responsibilities on arms export licensing very seriously. Indeed, in the words of the 2017 judgment, the government engaged in anxious scrutiny, indeed at what seems like anguished scrutiny at some stages. We're disappointed that the court found against the government on one ground, and we will be seeking permission to appeal this judgment.
Jeremy Corbyn.
Mr. Speaker, Germany, as an EU member state, has banned arms exports to Saudi Arabia. So has Denmark, and both the US Senate and House of Representatives have voted to ban arms exports as well. The UN describes the situation in Yemen as, and I quote, humanity's biggest preventable disaster, and the government sees fit to continue selling arms to Saudi Arabia during that situation. So can I ask the Prime Minister a very simple question? Does she believe there are serious ongoing violations of international humanitarian law by Saudi Arabia in Yemen? Yes or no?
Yes. The Right Honourable Gentleman knows very well that we consider these issues very carefully when we are dealing with these arms export licences, as has just been quoted by the court. But he references the situation in Yemen. This cannot go on. We need a political settlement in Yemen. I would remind the Right Honourable Gentleman that the Saudi-led intervention was at the request of the legitimate president of Yemen, following a rebel insurgency which overthrew the internationally recognised government, and the intervention has been acknowledged by the United Nations. Now, my right honourable friend, the Foreign Secretary, held a Yemen Quad meeting on Saturday, expressing concerns at escalating tensions. But what do we see the Labour Party do? One of his MPs was inviting rebel leaders of the insurgency into the House of Commons. Yet again, Labour on the wrong side of the argument.
Jeremy Corbyn.
The Prime Minister doesn't appear to understand the depth of feeling at the UN, parliaments around the world, and even the US Senate and House on this situation.